All right, everyone. Happy Easter weekend to all who celebrate. We're back at the NONA studio today for the brand new edition of the podcast. Now, this week, we've kept it USL2 themed. Of course, the season is just less than a month away from kicking off. We had Danny and Gunnar join us on the show earlier this week, and now we have the big boss join us, owner and founder of NONA FC, Fabio Silva, my friend. Always a pleasure.
Thank you very much, Edgar. This is nice to talk about NONA FC and to talk about NONA, so thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I believe this is the third time we have a podcast episode, so it's kind of becoming normal, so I hope you're used to it by now.
We should do this more often.
I think we should.
Once a month we do the updates and stuff,
absolutely.
so we can pick each other's brain.
That's a good idea. That is a great idea. But let's get started. I've never asked you this question, and I always ask players whenever they come on the show. What's the first thing that comes to mind when I tell you the word football? Or football?
Well, it's I have a couple ways that I always looked at
Sure.
this, but to me the first thing that comes to my life it's to my head when you talk about football is the tool that I use to change my life. You know, like we had, I grew up with the game, and I saw the game as escape for some of the realities that we have back in Brazil and some of the things and everything that I have today is due to football. Playing and didn't play at a high level, but I played at a good enough level that brought me here today. So it's a tool that people can use to change their lives.
Absolutely. Everyone thinks about just the field, but I mean, everything that goes on behind the scenes, it's unimaginable.
There's a lot. There's a lot in the game now, and the more that the game grows in the U.S., there's more to football than just playing.
Absolutely.
And that's what I try to tell people like you,
Right.
like Ale, that's now going to work at FIFA.
Congratulations to Ale.
And
That's a
we
huge
have
move.
I think developing people is what that's my goal here. And but there's so much more when it comes to football than just scoring the goals and playing the game.
Absolutely. I'm going to take you back now to 2016. Of course, a huge year in your life when you opened the academy, started with 2 teams or 1 team, or just as a dream, right? That finally became a reality in that year. If someone told you that 6 years later you would have a semi-pro team, you would think they're crazy, wouldn't you?
Honestly, this is how we're going to start. Okay,
That is how we're going to start. Right into the deep end.
So if you told me in 2016 that I would have 3 teams, it would be crazy because I only had 2 kids.
That's right, 2 kids, not 2 teams, 2 kids.
So we had, I had 2 kids, and that's why I started the club for, and honestly, I had all the time in the world doing real estate, so my schedule was very flexible.
Yeah.
And I started doing the NONA soccer, and if you told me 3 years from that moment that I would have 3 teams, it would be crazy. Now we have over 70 teams between recreational and competitive, and the pro and semi-pro team. It's unheard of. Like I don't know how we got here, but here we are.
We're gonna find out.
But here we are. Yes.
Unbelievable. And of course, this season is the first time that we finally have academy players into the squad, which again, it's the first time that this has been possible. A huge step forward for the academy, really, solidifying the pathway. We always speak about the pathway to pro. It's finally becoming a reality now. Of course, Bruno in charge as well, so we'll talk about that a little later. But take me back to the beginning, man. Like, when did USL2 even become a thought? Like, when did the idea get conceived? Was it a person who mentioned it to you? Was it you doing your own research? Let's take me all the way to the beginning.
So when you talk about academy players this year, Edgar stepping into the program, we when I started NONA, I didn't know that I was going to have what we have today. That's for sure. But I did know that if that team that we started with the 2008s and 2010s, it's how we started the club. If that team stayed together, we were going to be state champions with Lake Nona High School. Mm-hmm. That I knew that was going to happen, and I maybe because I was coaching at Cypress Creek High School, I played for Cypress Creek High School, and then I went on to play at UCF, and I was coaching Lehi back then at Cypress. I think that was the only crazy goal that I had. If I knew that the 08s that who we started the club with, they stayed together, we would be state champions. And this year, when the 08s are sophomores and freshmen, we became state champions at Lake Nona High School. So that was the first thing. And then throughout this process, we saw how much that group and then everybody else, like the 07s came in very strong after that. The 09s today, I think it's probably one of the strongest teams that we have in the club. And they're all coming into high school. Right. So about 3 years ago, we had a technical director, a dear friend of mine that he played at UCF at one point, and he's probably one of the best sports performance coaches in USL today. Wow. He works for Indy 11. Yeah. And Gabe, I can't wait to have him here on the podcast next time he's in Orlando. We're gonna bring him here because this guy is so sharp. And I brought him to be our DOC at the time, director of coaching at the club. Okay. And then I asked him, "What do you want to do?" He's like, "Coach, I want to be a professional coach." Okay, start as a DOC, and good luck.
Already.
And I didn't know that. And then one day he sat down with me, and it was him and Guy. And he said, "Can I present you a project?" Okay. Of course, you can present it whatever you want. I'm not sure that I'm going to do this. And then he presented the whole pitch on USL 2. And I'll never forget, we're sitting at my house, like in the porch area, and they're presenting to me, and it's like, look, we hire a coach, we do this, we do this, we do this. Da, 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 da.
So everything outlined.
And everything. It was a perfect and very well thought out presentation where he covered everything. Yeah. Not a lot of the financials, but he covered a lot of the other stuff. And I said to him, okay, so if you're doing this and you're proposing this, right? Who's going to be a coach? He's like, oh, we can find a coach. And then he gave me a list of coaches. He thought of everybody. Wow. I was like, no, you're my head coach. No, you told me when I interviewed you that you want to be a professional coach. You have all this contact with the colleges because he worked at UCF. He worked in different areas. Say, it's your opportunity. Wow. And he was like, oh,
he didn't expect that one.
It was an awkward conversation. But you know me by now, Edgar. I like to give opportunities to young leaders and to young people. And because I think I missed a little bit of that when I was younger, and I thought I was ready for a lot of things. I pull you guys' ear sometimes here and there, but it's part of my job to develop coaches, to develop professionals. And I told Gabe that you're the coach. You want to do this? Let's do it. You're the coach. Wow. So then I went back and I looked at the financials and I said, this is how it's going to be. Then when the process was going, we made a huge announcement. We had over 1,000 people at the NONA water park there.
That's right.
It was super nice. We had the media. We had TV. Everybody came by. We presented USL 2. We presented NONA FC. We presented Gabe. And 2 months later, this was like around November, December, it's when we presented. And for the season to start in May. And then Gabe got a job offer to go to Indy 11, which is one of the biggest USL championship clubs.
100%.
One of the strongest with a big... so Gabe is like, boss, what do we do?
Oh, my goodness. So he had agreed.
Yeah, he accepted the position with us. We started doing the programming. Yeah. Guy was going to be his assistant, and Gabe he got a job that he couldn't refuse. No. It's the same thing that happened with Ale now. Exactly. I was like, Ale, it's FIFA. Get out and send me tickets. So we couldn't go back and not take that job because we had no idea what USL 2 and NONA was going to be, you know. So then it was funny that Gabe is like, okay, so I'm leaving, and then here I am again now with the franchise of USL 2,
without a head coach,
with the guy that planned the whole thing. And I was like, okay, what am I gonna?
Just
I had
left.
no clue what we're gonna do as a
Wow.
club, and then talking to my wife, my advisor on a
Yes,
lot of
the
the
boss.
crazy decisions, and then we go and I said, how about Guy? Right? So Guy was going to be the
Yeah.
assistant. He was super excited, and then I told Guy that I wanted to talk to him, and our schedules weren't lining up, and we had some issues with Guy in the youth soccer. Like
Okay.
Guy got a suspension from FYSA from getting a red
Oh
card,
no.
and we're having so many issues with Guy. But I saw so much potential on that
Right.
kid, and to this day, every move he takes, he calls me. He likes to pick my brain. We exchange books, and I think Guy one day he's gonna work with us again. But I told him one day going into a pickup soccer that we used to play
Okay.
together. I said, Guy, I've been thinking, and I think I'm gonna give it to you. You're gonna be my head
You're
coach.
the guy.
And I'm glad I was driving, because if he was, he would crash the car. Because I've never seen so much passion and so much desire for somebody
Just
to do it.
immediately like
Yeah,
that.
it was. He's like, "Are you ready?" I was like, "I'm ready," and that's how he is. He's very competitive, and
Right.
sometimes his age doesn't showcase what he truly can do,
Hmm.
and. And I knew I was going to have some issues with Guy because he was young, and Guy was in the age of. It's funny that when we first started talking about USL,
Hmm.
we even thought about Guy playing USL
Wow.
because he was still in the age of it,
Yeah.
and and that's how Guy became the coach. So in a short, making the long story short,
Hmm.
uh, Gabe proposed it. Gabe left us, gave it to Guy, and then the rest of it history. Guy had an amazing
Jeez.
first season. We were champions
Division
in our
champions.
division, and
Right.
then we went to playoffs. We did a couple of things that it put our Guy. I'll
Mm.
never forget, because Guy put us in the map.
Wow.
And when it comes to USL, we are now one of the top programs in the country because of all the hard work that was put in that first year. Um, but that's kind of
Wow.
how we got here. So.
So 2 months before the season was about to start, you were just up in the air, like, holy crap, who's gonna drive this thing on the coaching side? But that's incredible.
And the USL, it's funny, Edgar,
Yeah.
because every time something like this comes up,
Mm.
now with the selection of Bruno, every time we have an opportunity like this, there's a coach that's always in mind,
And they're ready.
and that's me. Like
You want to return to the sidelines.
because that's what everybody says. But then I'm like, I'm not gonna give. I think I'm a good motivator. I'm a good leader with the team, but I'm not studying soccer anymore. And the game is starting so. Like computer and videos. I hate watching soccer videos to analyze a player.
Right,
And
right,
I have a specific way that I like the player to play, and then not a video of highlights is gonna.
right.
So I'm getting old for that, and but so everybody tells me all the time. It's like when we're transitioning coaches or we're
Mm.
making the decision, and I say, oh, maybe Fabio needs to coach this, or
Yeah.
why don't you do it? And like, so yeah, I'm glad I didn't do it.
Let's go back to Guy because, like you said, yes, it's only our fourth season, but he's the most successful coach up to date, right? If you had to describe him in a word, what would you choose?
In a word, crazy.
Crazy, in the best way possible.
Yes, in one word. But Guy is a young man.
Mm,
Not very patient on a couple things,
right,
but his work ethics, it's unbelievable.
right.
Like when it comes, like I've never seen. I think Guy. I've been doing soccer for the last 10 years here in the U.S. with youth soccer. NONA is going to be 10 years next year.
That's right.
So I don't think I have anybody that took the job as serious as Guy did.
Wow.
It doesn't matter what level he was coaching.
Mm,
So I remember when he first started with us was during the pandemic, and I gave him a couple of rec teams. and Guy was doing tactics and talking to the players, and and next thing you know, the recreational division is playing soccer, like,
Oh my
you know,
gosh. Yeah.
very organized. Then
Wow.
we kept moving him up and up. So when you talk soccer and the seriousness about the job itself, Guy was probably one of the most successful. I think probably the best coach of youth soccer here in Central Florida.
Wow.
I've never seen anybody like that when you talk about the game. But because of his age,
Yeah.
I believe that there's a couple things, like on the personal skills, on the locker room and behind the scenes, that he needed to learn, and then every year that went by, he got better and better and better and better. So that's how I can describe him. I still think his future is it's like he's not gonna have issues with working in soccer, and I still tell him all the time, you need to be a little bit patient, and things will happen.
Yeah.
You don't see a 30-year-old coaching Real Madrid, so you have to put in, lay the bricks and work your way up, and so on and so forth. So.
And I mean, he just stepped into collegiate soccer now with the University of Albany. That's a huge move for him, especially if he wants to dip his toes into that and continue progressing. You mentioned briefly the launch event for USL 2. It was down by Boxy Park, wasn't it?
It was at the Lake NONA Water Park.
Oh,
NONA Water Park.
Okay, so right by
Adventure
Heroes.
Park.
Got you.
So it was at the amphitheater there.
Okay. Talk to me, like, your emotions, like, that morning, to the moment that the curtains fell and you unveiled NONA FC. How were you that day?
I remember every step of that day. We were so busy setting it up because we wanted to make an announcement and people had no clue.
Right, and there was a crowd that day as well.
Yeah. So for the first time, I believe that we were able to keep the announcement as a secret, right? We like to make a big deal. Nobody knew. Like, they thought we were bringing a director for the girls division, because back then we were pushing the girls side, or I remember some people said that NONA was sold. The big announcement is that I sold NONA. You have no idea how many times I sold NONA already. Every time there's an announcement, people think I sold NONA. I don't know why, but that's
wow.
So we set it up. I had to host some of the guys from USL that morning, and I remember that we had the van.
Okay.
And I had like the NONA coach uniform, because we were setting up, putting flags up without having to show people. And then the kids were coming in, media people was coming in, everybody was coming in. So I went in the van and I changed it in the van. I was sweaty because I was working at Heroes all day. We were sweaty, and I put my suit on in the van.
Right.
And then when I came out of it, I turned the AC of the van so low that day because I was sweaty and I was putting my suit on. Right. And Gabe, I told him, don't show up until the time of the announcement, because then he's going to show up in a suit as well.
Yep.
And people won't understand what's going on. So,
exactly.
And then I remember that I said, and for the first time in the history of Central Florida, we're going to have a USL semi-pro team, and it was a huge deal. The kids there's pictures of that day, there's videos of that day that are emotional, because we did something special here. So I think that connection with the community started right there. Boom.
Wow.
At that point, during that announcement, we were able to connect with the community, and that's kind of how we did this.
And, of course, being successful helps that. People get excited. We've, of course, reached the playoffs 3 of our first 3 years. Hopefully, knock on wood, it becomes 4 out of 4. Let's continue on that role that the community plays, because then we have a U.S. Open Cup run, which I wanted to segue into. Club de Leon, right here at home. We pack Austin Tyndall, 1,000 people there, more or less. To see that, I mean, people showed up. And at first, it's okay, a brand new thing, people are, of course, excited. But for them to actually show it on that day must have been extremely special as well.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the U.S. Open Cup.
the preparation for U.S. Open Cup, it's and I'll give you a secret on this.
Please do.
The funniest stories behind USL 2 is that every coach that comes in and I say, ideally,
Right.
is for you not to win. I want you to finish in third. What the? Why would you say something like that? Because financially, the postseason is super expensive for the club. Right? Of course, it's a joke. Of course, I wanted to win. I wouldn't be in this if I didn't want to win. But internally, qualifying for playoffs, it's a pain.
It's an expense
because it's expensive and you have to go through. So, with that said, so we qualified to playoffs and we lost in the first round of the playoffs. And when we came home, we arrived back in Orlando with the invitation for the Open Cup.
Wow.
And that year, Orlando City had just won the Open Cup, so they weren't going to play the third round of the Cup the following year.
Okay.
And Inter Miami hired Messi.
Yeah, that's right.
So we ended up the Rowdies ended up not playing Inter Miami because I think they play Atlanta. I don't remember exactly what happened, but the whole preparation with Guy and the team was like, we play Club de Lyon. If we beat them, we play the Rowdies, and if we beat them, we play Messi.
Oh, my goodness.
I say, what am I doing here?
Oh, my
And it's funny that I was talking to some friends in Brazil, and I said, man, I'm about 10 games to play Real Madrid.
Hey, if you're already getting there by your third, I mean...
No, because technically, if you go in and you play... You have 5 games, I think, to win the Open Cup.
Okay.
5 or 6 games to win the Open Cup. And then you go to CONCACAF and you have another 10 games. And then if we win the whole thing, of course, it's not going to happen in USL too. But I was on a pathway that I could see.
The Club World Cup.
The Club World Cup right there in the corner. It's stupid. It's a joke. It's an internal joke.
It's free to dream, man.
Yeah, but it's an internal joke. But I was on that highway.
Of course.
I was on the highway with those people.
It's impossible not to start thinking about those things.
It's probably impossible to make it there because the levels, and then that's what some parents, they don't understand that good. And you have USL 2.
Yeah.
For you to be the best at USL 2 is one thing. And then you play a USL 1, it's like here.
The step up is meteoric.
It's huge.
Yeah.
And then you go in from USL 1 to USL Championship.
Another leap. Yep.
And then you go from Championship to MLS. And then you just keep going. So parents think, and I talk to players and coaches all the time, we have a really good team. We have a really good team at our level.
Exactly. You got to stay realistic.
Edgar, every step you took from year to year, every step you take when you go in, it's like video game, right? So
exactly.
The next phase, it starts getting extremely hard. And then you have to make it there. You have to be there constantly, and you have to be good at it. Maybe in 5 years at the next level, you're going to be able to get past the stage again. And then you're going to die at the end of every stage, and then you start over again. You just have to be there all the time.
Absolutely.
So then Club de Lyon was, we scored a goal in 2 minutes in the game.
Wow.
Then we got a red card at 35 minutes in the first half.
So you got to hold on. For an hour.
And we're talking a NISA team where professional players were playing, and we had some former pros. That our team was solid. Guy built a solid program. A lot of kids from Brazil, a lot of kids from Africa. We had a solid team.
Yeah.
But Club de Lyon was a pro team.
Yeah.
You know, and technically it was Orlando City, Club de Lyon, and NONA. Exactly. That's the level of MLS, NISA, and USL too. Wow. But this rivalry started coming up, and we were supposed to play at Club de Lyon.
Oh.
So I worked out a deal with the owner there because they didn't have a stadium to play for them to play at Austin Tyndall.
Right.
So I brought the game home.
Wow.
You know, so it was a strategic move that we made. Yeah. To help the other team as well, but
a win-win.
But it was a huge win for us.
Oh, I mean, come Come on.
I think that the fans and
Unbelievable.
yeah. So then we beat Club de Lyon, and then we had the Rowdies.
Oh.
The Rowdies was an experience on its own.
And let me tell you, Danny sat there 4 days ago, and I asked him, what's your favorite moment, NONA FC as a whole? It could be in the car, on the bus, in the office, on the field. And he said it was easy. It was Al Lang Stadium playing the Tampa Bay Rowdies, such a historic club. I told him I wish I was there.
Yeah. My best moment was the Club de Lyon game.
Okay.
That was the best moment for me because I had Lehi playing.
Wow.
And we were 10-man because I never thought I would get out of that game, honestly.
Yeah.
Like technically, if you look at
it's like
today you're Osasuna and you play I'm not going to say Real Madrid because that would have been the next step, but Atletico in the next round, right? Mm-hmm. The chances
so slim.
It's so slim.
Yeah.
But I had Lehi in the game and Guy, and I saw how much work we put in, 10-man, Austin Tyndall packed.
Wow.
That was my reality. As a club, we need to understand that. That game is the highest we can go. Anything past that, it's complete profit.
Yeah.
Right?
You're punching above your weight.
Yeah. So that's why I think when we won, there's a video that say we're going to Tampa, and I'm excited. I watched the game in 5 different locations.
I bet that was the longest 90 minutes of your life.
Yeah, it was tough, but that game was nice. So Al Lang, we have a really good relationship with the Tampa Bay Rowdies. The leadership there, they helped us in a lot of stuff. So. It was so nice to be recognized at that level, right? So when they start taking us, and the hospitality for the Rowdies was just amazing. The coaches, everybody, the directors. I remember I'm having a meeting with all the directors for the Tampa Bay Rays and the Rowdies.
Okay.
And my team. So I made sure that I took almost all of the full-time guys, all of the coaches, we took them to that game and say everybody would do this. So you have not everybody could sit on the bench, of course, but we had a staff about 12 people. Yeah. And everybody had something to do. When we went in the locker room, we got everybody together in that group. Wow. Moa, my son, was the water boy.
Nice.
So he sat on the bench that day. So those experiences, it's well you can beat it. And people say that we missed a goal.
Early on, right?
Early on, we missed a goal, and if we scored that goal, things could have been different. But again, it's like one punch.
Yep.
And we had to be ready to take punches for 100 minutes after that.
Wow.
So I don't believe that even if we scored that goal, because the Rowdies is in a completely different weight class.
Of course.
But I think that's why we love this game, right?
Come on, dude. That's the stuff that dreams are made of, right there.
Yeah. So that's what we're here for, and then some of the experiences for Danny, for Guy, for the players, for Moa to be. Think about it though. Moa was 13 years old.
Wow.
And he's sitting on the bench at the stadium, knowing that his dad's club is playing against the Tampa Bay Rowdies. So what that's gonna play in his mind, or the pride that he's gonna have being a NONA player and being part of the family that created this, it's unheard of. So that's really what I think about. There's no way. There's 1% chance that I could beat the Rowdies that day.
Of course.
But we went there and we had this amazing experience. Locker room was like a funeral after the game.
Wow. Devastated.
Yeah, because we lost 2-0 and it was so close.
Right.
And then I took a picture of the scoreboard and I still have it. And they say the route is 2-0. It's like, we'll be back here.
Wow.
And so that was my experience with the U.S. Open Cup. And then it's funny that the following year, we didn't qualify to Open Cup by a couple goals.
Right.
And U.S. Soccer, they had a cancellation last minute, and they invited us.
Really?
Yeah, to play Open Cup again. It's like, hey, I was like, no, we didn't qualify. We don't deserve it.
Wow.
So we didn't go to Open Cup the second year, but we got the invitation to go.
Really?
This is something that I can't mention clubs who didn't make it or whatever, but we were this is the first time I'm saying this all out, but we got the invitation to play the second year. The coaches weren't very happy with me, but we didn't qualify. So just to make an emotional decision to spend more money to do that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't going to be local. Maybe if it was against the Rowdies again,
Yeah.
I would have made the
differently
investment
about it.
and stuff. But I think we had to go to Georgia or Tennessee. I don't remember exactly what it was. But then I said, no, we need to qualify to be there. And
But that's setting the culture.
yes.
I mean, it's a statement, and yeah, probably everyone hated you for the next week. But I mean, that is setting the culture that, and I mean, that decision right there, lasts for years, because that sets the culture. You gotta earn things, especially at this level. You gotta earn things, and nothing is given to you. And I think that's a hugely important lesson, not just at this level, but even for the pros and everything. But wow, I had no idea. Look at that. We're unlocking secrets here
Yes.
on this episode of the NONA Sports Cast. So 3 playoffs in 3 years. Talk to me about, so the first year I believe it was West Virginia that we
Yes.
lost to. Talk to me about that next one, because that was an incredible game as well. Red cards, penalty shootouts. What do you remember from the second playoff run?
I remember when I stepped into that stadium.
Massive.
and I took Luan with me. I like to expose my kids to this environment so they can see what the game
the
is.
reality.
So they were in the locker room, and then when we stepped into the stadium again, it was Little Rock, right?
Little Rock. That's right.
So Little Rock had an amazing hospitality as well.
Yeah.
They hosted us to the best of their ability, and it was so nice. Then there's a box for me and my family.
Wow.
So I'm watching the game from this box in the 40,000 people stadium. It was empty, of course, because we were the first game and we're not playing against the home team. But
Right.
but it was probably about 15,000 people at the second game, which was the Little Rock against I remember who they played.
Okay.
But there was a box in the stadium and the huge scoreboard. I was like a little kid, like, is Nona really on the scoreboard? but the game itself, and we're playing against Coach Dave.
Coach Dave.
So the game itself was it's a typical college USL2 game,
Right.
very
Scrappy.
very scrappy. Guy got a red card early in the game, so
Yep.
Bruno had to step
Bruno.
in. So all I remember is the ugly game that it was played. It was all in the middle. It's all
Right.
like
Fighting.
tough fighting, and then Dave is that style. Dave held up. He knew, and I spoke to Dave after. It's like, Fabio, I knew that you guys had a better team than we did.
Really?
And but I knew that if I held up for like 30, 40 minutes, I would start messing with you guys' head, because there's a lot of pressure at NONA to go into the next game. Guy had that pressure.
Yeah.
Guy lost the first round of playoffs the first year. And then the second year, he's like, I need one more game
Yeah.
so we can go to the second round. So Dave was able to play, more experience, and he's been there before. And then on PKs,
I mean,
we came all the way to the end, and Cole, our goalkeeper, missed the
Went
PK
down
at
to
the
the
end.
keepers.
It's crazy.
unbelievable.
Imagine that right back home.
I can. But still, I mean, what a crazy environment, crazy, just set of circumstances that it goes down to, the 11th round of PKs, and you get that close, and it just escapes you. But still, to have those experiences are invaluable. Of course, Dave Jacobs was head coach of Tampa Bay United that day. He then
Texas
United. So then he becomes NONA's head coach for 2024. I know you guys go back many, many years, but how was that? How was the process of getting Dave Jacobs into the whole picture?
When we made to playoffs the first year,
Okay.
and I hadn't seen Dave for a very long time, because Dave was, when I met him, he was at a university as a goalkeeper coach. When I took my Cypress Creek High School over there to do a
Right.
college ID camp,
Okay.
and that's how I met Dave. And since then, he always, you know how he is like, man, I love this. And Dave is
So passionate.
so passionate, so upbeat.
Yeah, he
And
really is.
I loved him. I was like, and when we made it to playoffs the first year,
Yeah.
Dave was there watching the game. I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing here? Like, you're from Indiana and you're here in Texas. I don't
For a
remember.
USL2 game, yeah.
West Virginia is where we were.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, what are we doing here? And then he's like, oh, I have a project with USL and we need to talk more about it.
Oh.
And then next time I saw Dave, he was playing against us with Texas. So
Yes.
then we just kept talking about USL, going back and forth. And then one day he's like, hey, I want to move to Florida. And I said, that might be a perfect timing because I think he's leaving us, and that's how we can kind of brought him in, and
it worked out.
And it worked out. His experience with USL,
Right.
But I think the biggest thing with Dave was we need to have a connection with the club.
Yeah.
And I don't know if at the stage of his age, at his life now, he wanted to be in youth soccer again.
Gotcha.
And then I can't afford a coach just for USL too. We have to keep it year round with the club and connecting to the team and connecting to the players. So that's why the stage of life that the club needed it from what Dave was willing to do it. But Dave is my boy. He's helping us. He sent us a couple of players this year, and he's still part of the program.
Absolutely.
But I think we need to have somebody that understands the culture of the academy, the club, the little kids. There are little kids today, 2018, that are dreaming to play NONA FC.
Absolutely.
And if we need to make sure that everybody's on the same page on that.
And he moved on to coach with UCF.
Yes.
That season, I saw him. I was there at all the home games. He was on the bench as their goalkeeper coach last season, so it benefited him as well to have that experience. Staying on the 2024 season, it was an unforgettable season. We did so many new things, and we had a successful season, not just on the field but off it as well. What was your favorite moment of 2024? And I have a little suspicion, I know, but what was your favorite moment on the field and off the field? Maybe it matches, but from last season.
Favorite moment. Well, I had some great moments during the season. The Florida Elite game over in Jacksonville.
That was unbelievable.
We needed that.
Yeah.
And Florida Elite has been our
bogey team, right?
So I think that game was the like me as a soccer player. You're like, right. But of course the Villages game.
Of course, at home, the last minute winner.
That had to be, because that kept us in the game, and as much as I have a fantastic relationship with Anderson.
Yeah.
And Anderson is a big part of USL too at NONA, if you don't know this.
Really?
So we can talk about that, but there's a rivalry that's created between the players that it's natural, it's fun,
right?
But sometimes it crosses the line a little bit. But that's amongst the players, because Anderson and I, we have a great relationship, and he's a mentor to me when it comes to USL. But that game was fun, and then you guys, the video, like you guys celebrating in the trailer, like broadcasting the game. So that was the most fun,
unbelievable
part of it. But honestly, Florida Elite, the way that we did it, Florida Elite was like,
here we are,
enough.
Right.
Enough with this being this bogey team now. It's
the way it happened too, because I believe we took the lead. They get a scrappy goal from a free kick. We were watching it together in the stands. Simon Afrifa, the man of the big moment, scores off the bench with his first touch.
Yeah.
And then we get more and more from there in the last 10 minutes or so.
Yeah, in that game I think we came back and it's like, all right, we're here.
Yeah.
So to me, that was the most important part of the season.
Sure.
But the most fun, emotional part of it was the goal against the Village in the last minute.
So talk about that, because of course, the rivalry, and I think it kind of goes for football derbies in general, kind of, within the white lines, right? And then off the pitch, it's different. Talk to me about, just kind of elaborate more on your relationship with Brave SC now, of course, because when we talk about the Southeast Division, I mean, usually it's us two at the top always fighting it out in the table. So it must be an interesting dynamic there.
Before we talked about
Yeah.
the relationship with Braves, we're putting so much emphasis in that game. But the 2 years that we lost the championship, the first one, we won the first year.
Okay.
The second year we lost by 1 point.
Yep.
And last year we lost by 1 goal.
Goal difference.
1 goal.
Yeah.
Right? So if we know that we're going to split the 6 points with the Villages or with the Braves every year, we need to focus equally on the other
rest.
teams.
Yeah, absolutely.
We lost the season last year with a tie against Brookhouse in the first game of the season.
0-0.
That's when we lost because now we have to take at least 4 points off the Villages, which is so hard to do. We're like derbies all around the world. It's a 50-50.
Yeah.
You're going to split the points.
Yeah.
So that's not when you win championships.
Absolutely.
You win championships beating Florida Elite over there, now it's Sporting Jacks, but beating Gainesville both times.
Yeah.
Get 6 from Gainesville, get 6 from Brookhouse, get 6 from Brevard, get 6 from this. It's split points with Braves, it's split points with Florida Elite. We win.
And then exactly.
Right?
I think it's like a mind trick almost.
But then we put so much power, so much weight
energy
into the derbies but I'm telling them my personal strategy, but I'm not coaching.
No, of course.
But I believe that's the thing. Like the first game against the Villages, we killed them in the first half.
Wow.
I remember I was walking towards the locker room, and the first half was, I saw Anderson. I was like, what are you guys like, Fabio? What the hell? So we came back from the locker room, and Anderson transformed his team. They scored 2 goals that I told the striker, the big tall kid from Brazil that plays for the Braves. I was like, bro, he's like, Coach, I don't know.
I don't think he'll ever score some goals like that.
But it's the beauty of this game.
Of course. Of course.
That's why. So I gave him a hug, that kid, and I said, man, 2 amazing goals. And we lost. It's all part of it. But the control of the game that we had in the first half, I thought we were going to destroy them in the second half.
Right.
We're stronger physically. We're stronger. And then second half, the experience is like if it was a boxing match, it was 3 punches right in the nose.
I know.
Down, down, down.
Literally.
Game is over, and we lose.
It really was.
So that's not the game that you have to put all your chips in. Because if we beat all of the other teams twice, we can lose to the Braves twice and still win.
It'll take care of itself.
But that's me being mathematical and strategic. But that's the truth of this program. But going back to the relationship with the Braves.
Sure.
And, the first year I went to a USL conference.
Okay.
It was right after the pandemic. They used to do, like, now that we do everything online.
Yeah.
But used to do like a physical conference in Tampa. So then I saw Anderson. I was like, hey man, can I pick your brain? He's like, yeah, sure. Let's talk. And then I sat down in the hotel lobby in Tampa with Anderson, and I asked him everything, because he's probably one of the most successful USL programs in the country. Yeah. If not the most successful, he's top 10 easily. Yeah. So I had to pick his brain. And he gave me so many ideas that he's like, Fabio, soccer-wise, recruiting, that's every man for themselves. But you have Lake Nona, you have the club, you have a fan base that's already implemented.
There.
So if you have a fan base that's already implemented, you're going to have a good program with a good this and with a fan base. Yeah. Like my fan base, he told me, we have to do a lot of stuff because of the demographics, like at the community, the villages. But if it rains or if it gets, they go home. Yeah. And so they're not going to come to a soccer game if it's raining the whole day. Exactly. They're going to find something else to do. So with you have the passionate kids, you have the Latin community, you have the mix, you have the youth. So he showed me so many things that I could do that he probably doesn't even know the difference that he made to our program. but I respect him, and I like that he opened up. He's just
Right.
like, this is how much you're gonna spend. This is where you should spend money. This is where you should not
Wow.
spend money. So it was a nice mentorship session that I had with him, and now I want to beat him every year.
Of course, of course. Hey, those
But
90
I re-
minutes.
Yeah,
Put
but
everything aside.
I respect him a lot. This
I'm
guy
sure.
is sharp, and I played soccer with Anderson like
Really?
20 years ago.
Wow.
We're on this Brazilian select group team together,
Wow.
and so I knew him for a long time. And he was visionary going to the villages. Now he has what every club in the country needs, which is the land and the ability to build their own facility, control their own destiny. He just needs the young kids over there.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Exactly.
but Anderson is a role model to me. I don't know if he knows that, but it is he's somebody that I respect a lot in this game, regardless what happens on the field.
Exactly. No, yeah, it's completely different, when you talk about the players and the fans. So then, the executive level and the owners. So very interesting. Let's look ahead now. We've enough talking about the past. Let's look ahead. 2025, the fourth season of NONA FC. Bruno stepping up. Was it always Bruno for you?
Yes,
Really?
yes,
You knew.
I know. Is the next person in line.
Well,
NONA soccer, our goal is to develop young people.
Right.
From the recreational little Nonas that's starting with us now, the mini Nonas are starting with us now, all the way through the coaches. Is that the opportunity? So Bruno's been with us for 8 years.
That's right.
He's probably one of the first ones that's been with us, and he's always he's growing as a coach. Is he the perfect guy? No,
Right.
of course not. Could I get somebody more experienced? Absolutely. But why? Why? If my goal is to finish third, I'm kidding. if my goal is to develop kids, why not develop the coaches too?
Of course.
Like I believe that the biggest opportunity that Guy had career-wise, it was the head coach at NONA FC.
Wow.
So he went from a youth soccer coach to head coach at NONA FC, and now
That's just gone from there.
yeah. So all you need is to be given the opportunity, and it's the same thing with Bruno. I asked Bruno about a year ago. I was like, Bruno, what do you want to do with your life?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I don't know. I graduated college, and I don't know. And he's like, Bruno, you're not getting any younger, man. What do you want to do? And he told me, yeah, coaching. I'm having a lot of fun coaching. So then I was like, all right, then let's focus in coaching.
Exactly.
Let's dive in and start doing things. And so we're investing on some classes for him with some training. We gave him 2 good, solid teams here at NONA. So he's developing. So I've always knew that it was just the right thing to do. If he's the coach of the U19 and the job above,
That's what's next.
it's how I operate, and that's
Right.
how it is. So
Absolutely. No, and you just touched on the teams that he coaches. I mean, one of them was listed like top 8 or 10, like on a watch list for, the most, the teams with most potential or with the biggest chances of winning in the upcoming USLA Cup, of course, over in Tampa. So yeah, huge opportunity for him as well. What was the biggest challenge? What has been the biggest challenge for you so far in this NONA FC journey? Was it like at the start when you didn't know who your head coach was going to be? Was it something else along the road? Because of course it's not a linear journey. It has its ups and downs. So
the biggest challenge with USL, with the pro pathway, is the cost. It's
Really?
finances.
Simple
That's
as
the
that.
biggest challenge.
Yeah.
And everybody knows that.
Of course.
And if you're a billionaire, that you need to find a place where to put tax money, perfect. Run a club.
Right.
But if you're a small business, we're not a small business anymore. I understand that.
Right.
But if we're a mom and pop, for you to put a pro team together, it's $80,000, man. It's like
Right.
$80,000 cutting. No, Bruno, you can't have this. No, Bruno. Maybe Bruno, I'll give you that. It's $80,000 to run a 3-month program.
Well,
And I know there's programs out there that spends double that.
yeah.
You know, so that's the biggest challenge. We have what people don't understand is to go to the villages. I spent $5,000
Wow.
that day.
Yeah. No, I don't think anyone.
Yeah, you
would
have the
thought
bus,
that.
the food, the
Right.
salaries, the coaches, this and that.
Transportation, everything.
Tape.
Yeah, everything.
So, so when you look,
Everything's included.
when you look at like your medical supply bill, and you're like,
Oh my goodness.
and then you see kids taping their ankles like
no.
7 layers of tape. I was like, stop. That's the biggest challenge
of
for a
course.
small club. So the professional sports mentality, what people see on TV, when you're watching the Premier League or the Champions League or the La Liga, it's not the reality of soccer, man. Not even for players, not for the coaches, not for the clubs. It's so hard for you to keep it above water.
Sustainable.
So the way I look at it is NONA FC, it's a marketing piece for NONA Soccer Academy.
Right.
So part of my marketing budget is what operates NONA FC.
Right.
And then I'm not saying this is perfect, right? I'm not saying this formula is the way to do it. I'm saying this is what it works for us. Yeah. So then I know that the budget is there. And then the partnership with the community where we were able to find amazing sponsors to help offset that. You know, so we're still losing money on NONA FC, and I don't think there's a way for us to make money. I really don't. But then it's trying to minimize how much money we make so we can use it as marketing, and then one balances the other. So that's the biggest challenge.
No, of course, yeah, and a lot of people aren't aware of that. So
and then it goes back to promotion delegation.
Huge topic because it's coming to U.S. soccer.
Yeah, and
what are your thoughts on that?
I think soccer-wise, it's what it's needed.
Right. For the sport to really get going in this country. Yeah.
We need to have that. You need to, the clubs that are dropping from half table down. If there's relegation, you have it's good games. Of course. Right. The U.S. sports, when you drop down, their idea is to be last so they can get the first pick on the draft.
Exactly.
So,
but it's just not how soccer works, and I've had so many conversations with Patrick about this, or with other people as well. It's like every other sport, it's either that or it's a major league, minor league kind of mindset. Soccer is completely different.
Yes. When you talk about the game itself, but I always talk about this, and when people think just the game, they don't understand what it takes to run a club.
Of course.
I just joking around with you. I just say that the best thing for us is to finish in third. Okay, let's say I get promoted tomorrow. U.S. Soccer gives us, let's say, $50,000. I don't know how much the prize is, just but 100,000, 200,000, whatever the number is, X, whatever the number is.
Right.
And now I have to go to California 3 times in a year with the club, and I have to go to New York 3 times a year, and I have to go to Atlanta 6 times a year.
Right.
There's no way. I don't want it. If there's an option, it's like, Fabio, do you want to be promoted? No, I don't want it.
Yeah.
Because I just told you, my biggest challenge is to spend $80,000 to $120,000, which is what it costs to run a USL2 program.
Yeah.
The next level is $5 million.
Right. It's just such a big step up. No,
and the next level is $12 million.
Yeah. There's challenges.
Again, if I make $1 billion, and this is my toy, which is most of U.S. sports, let's face it, right?
Of course.
If this is my toy, then yes. But why? It's this country is too big.
It really is.
Now, in Brazil, in a state like Florida, let's say state of São Paulo in Brazil, there is 20 professional clubs.
Yeah.
There's 20 pro clubs. Here in Florida, we have 2. So even if I am competing at that level, MLS Next Pro or or if USL does this,
Yeah.
how am I going to compete with the academy of Orlando City? How am I going to compete with the academy of Inter Miami?
Completely.
There's no way.
Yeah.
There's no way. So, yes, my heart of the game wants the U.S. soccer to grow.
Exactly.
However,
Mm-hmm.
it's unaffordable for the small clubs. There's no TV rights. So when you look at the clubs that get up, a Premier League, for example,
I was gonna talk about
if
that,
you
yeah.
go from the Premier League, the championship
right.
to the Premier League,
Mm-hmm.
the next day you get your trophy. The next day there's 200 million pounds being deposited into your account.
Yep. That's
Give
a different ball game.
Give me 200 million pounds and let's see what I can do with it.
But even still, 2 seasons in a row, the promoted clubs are getting relegated back.
And that's the secret. I was there,
Yeah.
and I had a meeting with Arsenal. I had a meeting with Brighton,
Okay.
and some of the coaches. I did a lot of research
Yeah.
for me to be able to talk to you about this.
Right.
The hardest part is not being promoted. It's staying there
It's
3
staying
years.
up,
3 years.
exactly.
The clubs that stay 3 years, they go to the top pack.
And we're seeing that now with the likes of Brighton, Bournemouth.
Yeah. So it's 200, 200, 200,
Exactly.
plus everything else that they can sell.
Yeah.
But just one 200, you know how much there's behind? So
Wow.
that first 200 is like half of it is prizes to players that made them up,
Exactly.
or to coaches, or to sponsors, or to investors.
Exactly.
So now you go up, you stay 1 year, boom. Now the second year it's not,
Yes.
and then the third year. So after after the teams come up after the third year,
Mhm.
they go to the top 8,
Exactly.
to the top 10.
Yeah, that's how it works. Yeah.
So, but
That's incredible.
it's very easy for the soccer fans here in the U.S.
Yes.
The soccer dad is like, oh, until they have promotion, relegation, it's not.
Yeah.
I still believe the MLS is the league that grew the most in the last 30 years.
I think there's little debating that.
So
Yeah.
it's not all wrong, my friend.
Right.
MLS is doing is it the best soccer? Maybe not.
Hmm.
But MLS, you have a better fan base in the stadiums, like
Sure.
ticket sales. It's better than the Brazilian league.
Wow.
It's better than the Argentinian league.
Mm.
The TV rights with Apple now, it's better than.
Yeah, you're right.
So what are we comparing to? Are we comparing the level of soccer to Europe? No, it's not going to happen because here we divide. The basketball fan is not going to watch soccer.
Yep.
Period.
Yep.
The football fan is not going to watch soccer. In Europe, the soccer fans watch everything else.
Yeah. It's a completely different culture.
Completely different. And that's
different.
what we again, it's opinions.
No, of
This
course.
is my opinion.
Yeah.
But I don't know if promotional relegation is something that is that simple. I don't know. I don't have
Very
enough
complex.
knowledge. Very, very.
Very complex.
For a club like NONA, it's not doable.
Mm.
But then we know that if we get promoted, somebody's gonna come here and say, "Hey, Fabio, you want $100 million? I'll invest in your club." That's how soccer works too.
Absolutely.
So let's not look the other way.
Absolutely. I love picking your brain and picking the brains of other people because, depending on your position, you'll have a different perspective on it, and it's so interesting to see how it all changes. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. I mean, after the World Cup here in the '90s, MLS came. After the World Cup here in 26, this is now on the horizon. So it's very interesting to see the progression. How about your biggest lesson that you've learned in the last 3 years with NONA FC? What has it been?
Biggest lesson. I don't think it's with NONA FC,
Okay.
Edgar. It's the biggest lesson that I learned in soccer since I've been running a club.
Yeah,
It's that the game is unpredictable.
always.
And
Always.
I talk to parents every day. It's like, oh, but my son, blah, 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 blah. And, oh, the coach made a mistake. The coach made a sub.
Mm.
Or the coach made a decision.
Yes.
If that
Very
decision made it was good. If because of that decision we scored that goal and we won 1-0, you'd be thinking the coach is a genius.
Exactly. It can go both ways.
But because it didn't,
Yeah.
now you're complaining about the coach.
Yeah.
I don't think last year we had a team to be a goal behind the Villages. I don't.
Well,
I think we were the third best team last year.
really?
Yes.
Wow.
And we the unpredictable game we had at Florida Elite.
Yeah.
And the completely unpredictable game we had against Brookhouse here in the first game, and then the loss at the Villages. All of the games is so close to each other.
Wow.
They were so.
The margins.
I'd like to say that soccer is a boxing fight. It's a boxing match.
Absolutely.
You defend. Like what's Muhammad Ali say? You're a tough guy until you get hit in the face.
Right. Or fly like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Yeah.
So you're a big man until you got punched in the face. We controlled the game against the Villages. We had an amazing game. We were better than they were for 50 minutes in the first half.
Yeah.
Second half they came in, 3 punches, we're done. So I learned that this game is unpredictable, and I like to say that we need to keep doing what we're doing. We need to keep focusing on what we're good at and the good things and try to fix the bad things. But the game itself, man.
Yeah.
It's called a game. It doesn't call like let's go there and win. No. You have to play.
Absolutely.
And then on the other side,
never know what's gonna happen.
On the other side, you think Anderson is sleeping right now, or Sean Bubb over at Florida Elite? I saw Larry from Brookhouse yesterday, and it's like, "Hey, you guys ready?" Do you think he's sleeping? We're the only ones working the whole year to make sure we have a good team together. No. All your competitors are working hard too.
On your back, right there, always. Yeah.
So the unpredictability of this game, it's the biggest lesson to go from a soccer fan to a owner of a club.
100%.
And that's my job now, to be explaining that to parents and fans. And another thing that is hard, is deal with fans.
Right.
Because now we have fans.
Demanding.
No, because they don't. Some of them don't have no idea what soccer is.
Right.
How many times you watch a youth soccer and the kid is in the midfield and then he open up, shoot!
Yeah, exactly. Pass.
No, don't shoot. Don't tell them to shoot. So they don't understand the game. They have their own opinions.
Yeah.
So for us, we know what happens in the backstage with the behind the scenes.
Right.
We know why that player's not playing, or you know why. You know all the whys.
Yeah.
But then you have to listen to the questions and listen to the concerns of fans and parents, and so I think that's the biggest lesson for me.
Wow, interesting. And just to finish off, I know we've been here for like an hour. We can go on the whole day if we want. We can order food and we can eat here and everything. But goals and objectives heading into this new season, heading into the future with the club. Can you pinpoint one or two, or maybe there's one that overrides them all?
For the first year, we're gonna have academy players in the USL2 program.
Right.
And that is something that I've been waiting for. And last year, I think the first year we had one, but he was 15. He wasn't gonna play. Right. Guy brought him up, so he did the whole warm up. He did against the Braves, the Villages at the time. So.
More so for the experience.
Yeah, but we knew that he wasn't going to get any minutes. Mm-hmm. Then last year the year before, we promoted Pedro, which was an academy player, but not one of those that's been with us since the beginning. He came from Brazil. And then there was Guy put him up against Brevard. There was a penalty, and he scored. So that was the first academy player goal that was scored. But now there's a plan. I told Bruno that it doesn't matter what he does, 20% of his roster has to be from the academy. And I think that's what showcases what we're trying to do as a club here.
Absolutely.
And this year is the 08. Next year will be 08s, 09s. The next year, the following year will be 08s, 09, 2010s. And then in 5 years, it's all academy.
That's the goal.
Yes. So, of course, you have the connection if an academy player is playing for Clemson and he brings 3 of his friends to play USL too, fantastic. That's what we want. We want that mix.
Yeah.
So all of the kids, right now it might be too early to say, but in 5 years, the kids that are reaching U12, U13, they're going to be thinking college, coming back to play NONA FC, maybe being drafted to play the MLS,
right?
Or straight to MLS. Then it's a shortcut that you have to take and go. But think about it. If I have a team, the USL team today, where we still bring in players from Clemson, Notre Dame, Furman, Jacksonville, UCF. But not only they are from these top schools, but they're also NONA players that's been with us. Lake NONA kids.
Wow.
Like we haven't announced yet, but Rojas. Rojas from UCF.
Sure.
He's a Lake NONA kid.
Yeah.
He's a Lake NONA kid.
Wow.
Playing for Lake NONA kid is going to play UCF. He's playing at UCF, coming back to play NONA FC. It's a big deal. So we that's the goals and objective. 100%. I rather finish 5th in the league with 5 academy players on the roster than be a champion with nothing, because then there's no connection.
There's no connection. You lose it completely.
I'll be 5th, but there are some kids at NONA that will get 100 minutes this year.
Yeah.
Now think about it. A sophomore in high school, a junior in high school, having 100 minutes at NONA FC. What's the possibility that we can give them to go to college? What's the footage that we can show, the videos, the material that we can do?
Open so many doors.
So that's the main focus of NONA FC, and it's always been that way. Part of the Gabe's project didn't have that, and I said, if you promise me that you're going to add that to it, I'll sign up for it, because I'm thinking 5 years down the line. I'm not thinking today.
Yeah.
And 5 years, it's 4 already passed, right? So yeah, we'll see academy players in the first team this year.
Unbelievable. I am so excited. Less than a month away, people. Almost there. We heard it from the man himself, Fabio. Great talking with you, my friend, always.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me here at NONA Studio. It was a great episode. Like we said, though, 1 month away, May 14th. Be there at Austin Tyndall at home against Brevard to open this season. So it's going to be so exciting. Join us for the ride. But from Fabio, from myself, from NONA Studio, all of our amazing sponsors, that's it for this week's edition. We'll see you again next week. Take care.